Hello, ACDC. Well, hello. I want you to help me with a little experiment.
دكتور براين بيقول لكم ساعدوني في تجربة صغيرة بيسويها معاكم. ساعدوه.
I'd like for us to do this all together. I will show you. Just come along with me.
نبي نسويها هذه كلها مع بعض، بنسويها مع بعض كلنا، فأنتم شوفوا وش بيسوي وتابعوا حركاته وسووا معاه سواء جالسين أو واقفين.
Okay, nicely done. Give yourselves a round of applause. I must admit that I stayed up, I got up very early this morning to rewrite my talk for today. Excuse me. I would like to thank the 164 youth that I got to spend the last 5 days with. Please give all of the youth that attended Career Week an applause. I was so inspired that a whole new, more important message came to me. Now, when we were stomping and clapping together, if you were participating, you could feel your body change. You could feel your mood change. You could feel your emotions change. In career development, we're very comfortable talking about things like the world of work, getting a job, resumes, LinkedIn, artificial intelligence, technology, and all of these things are changing very quickly and are very important to talk about. My fear is that we might forget to talk about what I think is the most important thing. You, as a human being, aren't changing quickly. We as human beings still need the same things today that our parents needed, that our grandparents needed, and that our ancestors from 2,000 years ago needed. We needed to feel like that we were living and working in a safe environment. We needed to feel like we are connected to other people that we can trust. We need to feel like that what we do has a positive social purpose. And yes, we need a little love. If we have these positive parts happening in our lives, our career will go better. We'll be better workers. We'll produce better. We'll feel better, and we'll build better lives. So thanks to the youth, I'm going to talk to you today about the amount of focus that we give to the different elements of career development and what I think is the most important, the psychological well-being of the workers. Technical difficulty? Okay. So for me, the big question is that if we're living in an attention economy, then what we give our attention to needs to be part of the career development conversation. Now, this is a classic psychological picture. How many people see a duck, a bird, the duck, when you look at that picture? Okay? How many people see a bunny rabbit when they look at that picture? Okay? Both are there. Both are there. It's an old picture to teach us that how we focus our attention is important, and that when we focus our attention on one thing, we're unable to focus our attention on another. Let me give you another example. You may have seen this classic photo from psychology, but when you look at this, how many can see a vase for flowers? Yes? How about two people's faces as they talk to one another? And now that you know they're both there, you can see the vase, you can see two people talking. You can see the vase, you can see two people talking, but you can never see them both at the same time. Try it. The way our brains work and our eyes work is that when our attention is captured by one thing, it takes our attention away from the other thing that we might focus on. This is a very good piece of the way that we're designed, but it's something that we need to be, I think, aware of. Some psychological research shows that we are 4 to 5 times more likely to focus our attention on negative thoughts versus positive thoughts. So again, thinking about our well-being, our motivation to work, our drive, the way we feel about ourselves as workers. Imagine how that is spoiled if our attention is focused on negative things 80% of the time or 60% of the time. Now, in the field of career development, I think this plays out when we get trends. And again, I am not saying that AI is not important, but it is often presented in the media as a scary thing or a negative thing. AI will take your jobs. Or if you're old like me, you're like, I'm too old to learn AI technology. That constant negative focus, that negative perspective, impacts the way our clients and our youth feel about our work with them as career development coaches, counselors, and helpers. And I hear it a lot from us. I get to travel the entire world and see career development folks. It's really easy to get excited about negative things and forget that the human being isn't changing fast. Right? Speed, 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 speed. What a human being needs is to slow down, to self-reflect, to understand their emotions, to feel connected to the community, to feel connected to other people. And a good life and joy will come from that. I do want to briefly touch base with about social media, because that is a big driver of a lot of the change that we're seeing, not in humans. You're not evolving because of social media. That type of thing takes tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. You're responding to a stimulus in your environment. Okay? Whoop, back. Okay. So this is again about our attention, about our focus. The algorithms and the platforms are designed to capture our attention, to capture our focus. And if we're focused too much on that, I've already told you what happens. We're unable to focus on more positive things in our lives. Okay? These, still back, not done. These things, if you've ever heard of positive psychology, a flow state, which is a deepening of a human experience, they can trick our minds into thinking we're in a flow state because time goes by so quickly. But in reality, I think we're in what I call a numb state. Because I gotta be honest, when I doom scroll Instagram for 3 hours, I lose track of time, but I don't feel better when I stop. My mood isn't better. My emotions aren't more positive. My brain isn't activated to be motivated to do more things. Our attention is being captured or stolen by these devices. There's some research, not definitive, that suggests that this attention capture from social media and other digital platforms is strongly correlated or may be part of the cause of the large increase in anxiety, depression, and suicide in countries around the world. So for career development professionals, that brings me to the question of what is our role to play in this problem? How can the powerful tool of career development be leveraged to be part of a solution for the greater social good and to help our youth and our clients feel better about their lives, better about having to go to work if it's a have to, better about wanting to go to work if it's a want to. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our blind spots. A blind spot is an area in your vision that you cannot see. If you are a driver, these are your blind spots. Out your side window, you can see ahead, you can see behind in your rear view mirror, but unless you turn your head around and take your eye off the road, you cannot see in your blind spots. So in career development, forward, job placement is often what we focused on historically. And this is good. We just had a career fair during the break. This is good. Job placement is very important. Okay? Forward. In our rear view mirror, we tend to want to talk about employment skills. Most career professionals love talking about resumes, LinkedIn, job interview preparation, okay? Employment skills, skills that help with job placement. Not yet, okay? We also talk a lot, as we should, about technical skills. Someone on the panel just before talked about Excel, or how to computer program, or do technical aspects of work. What inspired me about the youth camp is that the youth camp is designed with a curriculum that really shines a light on our blind spots that I see in other programs around the world. Out the one side of the blind spot we have things like our personal character, our emotion regulation. This was my favorite part of the youth camp. We would do an activity, and then the youth would be asked to write down their emotion, what they're feeling, on a Post-it note. They're in teams of 20 all over the room, and they would be asked to put that emotion on the Post-it note on a team board so that all of their emotions were together. So what that does is it brings our emotions to our awareness. Okay? Many of us feel things, but we're not aware of them. We don't name the feeling. Then, when they go back to their groups each time, one or two group members that haven't done it before are asked to take the microphone to the room of 200 people and talk about the emotion that they're feeling. This is an intervention that's designed to help people learn emotion regulation. If you are able to identify your emotional states and name them, communicate them effectively out loud, then you can learn that you are not your emotions. Your emotions are things that come over you, and then you can start to manage them. So in the workplace, has anyone ever worked with someone that can be very mean or toxic or angry if anything goes wrong? Not you, Noaz. Not you, no. I mean, actually it was you, but in my mind only, right? Okay? We want those people, it's okay to have those emotions. I get annoyed all the time. I get upset when things go wrong, but I hope that I've developed the emotion regulation skills that I can pause, take a breath, reflect, and act accordingly to meet the needs of myself and my team. Okay? It's very rare for emotion regulation to be in a curriculum like it is in the youth camp here. And I think it should be in all career development curricula. Okay? Another one we've talked a lot about this week is cultural humility and cultural empathy. The number of youth that I feel personally close to, even though we don't speak the same language, is built on a shared experience in a trusting environment. And I will take it with me for the rest of my life, these memories. These tokens, like this bracelet that one of the youth made for me. So that's the internal part that we need to talk about. We need to help students understand and learn to regulate themselves. The external part, which we often call soft skills, we used to call them career skills for the 21st century, a lot of these are things like openness to experience, or things like social interest. These are broader categories for the specific ones. Or our sense of purpose in the world, which again is a huge part of what we do in Career Week. Okay? So the big term that I'm talking about here that I think should become part of our language as we talk about career development is psychological resilience. The idea from this theory is it is not the nature of adversity that matters, but how we deal with it. The sales call goes poorly, doesn't matter. How do we deal with it? The conference technology breaks, doesn't matter. How do I deal with it? Okay? You don't get the promotion at work, doesn't matter. How do I deal with it? This idea of persistence, our first speaker on advice from the panel said what? Never give up. Never give up. That is not a shallow piece of advice. That is a deeply embedded piece of advice that comes from the idea of psychological resilience. So the formal definition is here. I always use PowerPoint when my audience doesn't speak English because many of you can read better than you can understand my accent. So here is a formal definition of it. But if you think about it, if we have this idea of psychological resilience inside of us, a lot of the 21st century workplace skills things that we are trying to develop happen more automatically. Okay? If we talk about good communication skills, if I have strong psychological resilience, I'm more able to be like, okay, take a breath, Brian. Probably not being mean to me. He probably just misspoke. And then instead of acting angrily, I can say, I'm sorry, I think we might have miscommunicated there. Could you say what you said again? Okay? And we build on these resilient factors to create in us an employee or an entrepreneur or a manager or a coach or a teacher that is always interacting positively in support of the people at the workplace. Now, those of you at the youth camp, you can tell whether or not I have psychological resilience. Was I mean or was I supportive the whole way through our time together? I'm not going to tell you a lot about this book, but I will say that the research is very strong that career development and mental health are closely linked together. If our mental health is good, our career will go better. If our career is going well, our mental health will improve. So they're married together, which means we as career development professionals, those of us that do this work in the room, have an amazing opportunity. You don't have to become a psychologist. You don't have to be a counselor. You just have to do your career development work with psychological resilience in your mindset when you prepare to do your work. I came to this side because I realized they didn't get to take a picture of me. Action shot. Forward. And the other great part of this is that much of the work that you've learned to do is already supporting mental health. So the three aspects of positive mental health are emotional well-being, psychological well-being, and social well-being. Career development people talk about life satisfaction and happiness all of the time. We just don't realize that those are important parts of emotional well-being. We need to make that connection in our focus in our minds. We talk about purpose in life, autonomy, positive relations with others, mastering our environment, personal growth, upskilling, reskilling. These don't have to be tasks that people have to do. They can be opportunities for growth pointed towards psychological resilience and an overall healthier life. And finally, I am huge on social well-being. If we are not connected to others, we cannot function and we cannot thrive in our lives. If you don't feel connected to other people, you will not do well at work emotionally, and you probably won't perform well. If we're not connected to others, we probably won't feel good about our home life, and you won't thrive and feel well. So my big question in my work right now is how can we as career practitioners employ the powerful tool of career development to create the best psychological resilience for the most people? Again, I've been here 12, 15, 18 hours a day for the last 5 days. This question was in my mind the entire time. Every speech, every conversation, every picture, every piece of feedback. How am I in supporting the well-being and psychological resilience of the people that I work with? I call it human-centric design. It works on what I think are the 3 super skills for personal growth and career development in the 21st century. Authentic social connections, learning selective attention, how to focus yourself when you want to, and then affirmative achievement orientation. And I'm going to explain those as I start to wrap up my talk. Okay? These are pictures from Career Week. There are some people in the room probably. I hope. So much of what you do does create psychological resilience already, but it almost can be an accidental outcome, not your purpose. And in my work, I want to convince as many people to make it their purpose. Okay? So the first one is authentic social connection. Robert Dunbar has done research and finds that at our healthiest and at the most, we have 5 meaningful connections in our lives. And really, we can only have about 150 acquaintances or like secondary friends. This is another social media thing. I have 4,000 followers on LinkedIn. That's not a social connection. That's a distraction from a social connection. When I meet with a new client or student one-on-one, one of the very first questions I always ask are, who are the most important people in your day-to-day life? If you had something amazing happen today, if you won an award unexpectedly, who are the people that you would have to call in the next 24 hours to tell them? Or if something really bad happened today, maybe your car got in an accident, who are the most important people in your life that you would have to share that hardship with? I want the names of these people because as we do career development work, I'm going to use those social connections. Imagine that you, since I'm on video, imagine that you had an important career choice to make. Should I go to this college or this trade school? Should I take this job that pays more or this job that is closer to home? Should I take this job that will have me work a lot of overtime or should I take this job that will let me be home with my children? So there's lots of ways to make important decisions like that, but one of the methods I like to use is, I have here in my notes from intake that Marty is one of the most important people in your life. If you were asked Marty for his advice, what do you think he would say? Or, if your kids were part of your important social connection, I hope they would be, you might ask, how do you think your kids would respond if you took the job where you were away from them all the time? What would they say? Okay. There's this great quote, and I can't find who said it, but it says something like, if you work a lot of overtime and go the extra mile, the only people that will remember that in the future are your children. Whew. That can hurt a little bit, right? But that's right? That is the most important person in your life. That is a consideration in career decision making. Nope, not yet. Okay? So, selective attention, we're going to go into this a little bit more. Gloria Mark has found that if you are doing a task and you stop doing it in any circumstance, it takes 25 and a half minutes for you to return to that task fully. And for those of you looking at your phone right now, that includes checking your Instagram account. Okay? So we're constantly switching our mental focus, and every time we do that, we lose something. The technical term for it is psychological residue. Okay? Now, as an employer, selective attention is one of the most important skills that I look for. If I want to hire someone, am I able to determine whether or not you're able to choose to do a task and focus on it for a long period of time? Because there's not a lot of important work that happens in 30-second increments or that can be interrupted 11 times an hour as you check your social media accounts. And finally, a quick thing about affirmative achievement orientation. We have put so many people in the world of work on this treadmill of always performing. Keep your resume updated every week. Check your LinkedIn profile every 2 weeks. Always be upskilling. Always be networking for your next position. Those aren't bad pieces of advice, but again, if they're forced upon skills versus something that has a positive orientation, it impacts motivation. It impacts engagement negatively. So we want to have a frame where the client's empowered to make a choice, and then we're acting on positive achievement attitudes, not I have to achievement attitudes. You'll always get better long-term performance that way. Now, okay, last thing, I do have to talk about technology. Maybe it's because I'm old. But a recent Gallup poll showed that in the United States, the average person ages 12 to 75 spends 11 hours per day on a screen. 11. There are 24 hours in a day by my count. Now, I made this little chart to make a point. So between the ages of 12 and 75, you'll live 655,200 hours. 218,400 of those hours will be spent sleeping or resting unless you're Egyptian. Y'all never sleep. I don't understand how it's possible. When do you sleep? I go out for dinner at midnight, and there's still children and families running around. I don't know when people sleep in this country, but for the sake of argument, let's say that Egyptians sleep sometime. I don't know when. Okay? So that means waking time, when you're making choices about your life, from the age of 12 to 75, you get a bank of 436,800 hours. If you spend 2 hours a day on your phone, you give up 11% of that time. 5 hours a day on your phone, you give up 27%. 10 hours a day, 54%. And the average in the United States is more than that. I'm not judging, I'm just asking, is that the life that you want for yourself? I was addicted to TikTok. My wife had to have an intervention with me. I'm not joking. I never was into social media. I posted a lot for my business for a while, but never posted. And then a friend convinced me to download TikTok to watch some of his philosophical videos. And the next thing I know, I'm spending 6, 7, 8, 9 hours a day watching TikTok videos. If my wife wouldn't have had an intervention, I canceled my account, took it off of my phone. It's the only thing that saved me, or else I'd be higher than this. Okay? So how do we do this? How do we change these behaviors? Next. First of all, patience. We human beings do not change our behaviors quickly or easily. It takes effort over time with support. If you want to change a behavior, lose a little belly like I need to do, it takes effort over time with support, or else behavior change won't happen. Next. Selective attention. The easiest way, again, from Dr. Gloria Mark. When you feel your attention being stolen from something, when you have that urge to touch your phone while you're trying to listen to me, if you want to stay focused, very simple cognitive behavioral technique. In your mind, name the urge. I really want to check TikTok right now. Practice forethought. If he says anything interesting, I'll miss it because I'm on TikTok. Name a replacement behavior. I like to pinch myself and then refocus myself. That's my behavioral reinforcement. And then be generous to yourself. Hey, Brian, everyone would get addicted to TikTok too. It's okay. Good job this time. If you can coach your youth and your clients to do this simple technique around a project that they want to change their behavior on, you can change their lives. The last thing is our environment is so important to our sense of well-being, but also to behavior change. There's research that shows that if you want to lose weight, if you take your snacks and put them above your head or below your waist in your kitchen, you will eat fewer snacks. Same thing, if you want to be different socially and you keep hanging out with the same social group that impacts your behavior negatively, you won't change that behavior. Okay, next. Woo! We did a lot of work here today. Next slide. Again. So here's the end game. It's understandable in the current world of work if you are feeling stressed, anxious, or depressed. Next. It's understanding in the modern world if you are feeling lonelier than you want to feel. Next. It's understandable in the modern world if you are feeling burnt out at work. But I believe, and I just saw it this week with 164 youth, I believe if you focus on a strong character, strong, positive social connection, and a purpose to make the world a better place, you will find joy. You will find joy. Next, two more. Yep. Next, last one. You will find joy. I have danced with students on that hall, on this stage. I have seen them cry. I have seen them use a microphone in front of a room full of people. And all of it, by day 3, was absolutely career-oriented and fundamentally joyful. And so I wish for you that your career will bring you great joy in your life. Shukran. And now I'm not sure what's supposed to happen. My colleague Ahmed's going to come on the stage and we're going to do a short dance routine together. Are we the entertainment you promised?
I don't know how to dance. Should I do this? Thank you, Brian, for شكرا لحضراتكم. فضلتوا معانا يعني لحد دلوقتي. عندي شوية معلومات بس خاصة